Hi, and welcome back to Algebra 1. Our goal for today is to take real numbers, and that could be numbers that are rational or irrational, and compare their values or put them into an organized list. For example, from least to greatest or greatest to least. So we're going to start with, I have two numbers. How can I compare them as less than, greater than, or equal to? And then we'll go to a more expanded list. And can I put them into an organized list of smallest to largest or largest to smallest, whatever I'm being asked to do? So our starting goal is simply greater than, less than, or equal to when we have two real numbers. Again, remember that can include decimals that don't terminate or don't repeat, are irrational ones, so just be careful. All right, so my suggestion to you would be to change the numbers into equivalent decimal formats. So you want to take what's originally there and get it to its equivalent decimal version. That's just a suggestion. You could also get them to their equivalent percentage version. That would be the next easiest way to compare them. But you definitely don't want to leave them in, for example, fraction format or square root format, because you need to get them in identical matching formats to be able to compare them. And for fractions, that would mean having to get common denominators, which is a little bit tricky to do. So my suggestion, convert to decimals or convert to percents. Those are the two easiest to just look at and say, yes, I can tell their values and how to compare them. Once you have your numbers in decimal or maybe percentage version, you want to line your decimal points up and compare starting with your first digit and move down into your lowest value in your behind your decimal. Once you get to a place value where your numbers are different, that's where you can compare their values. Is one number bigger than the other? Is one smaller than the other? Or are they identical and match one another? All right, from there, once you know the comparison, you can include your symbol of less than, greater than, or equal to. Please remember facing this direction, right? Going that direction, right? This guy. Think of it as an arrow that's pointing, right? It's saying go that way. So think about your number line, right? So maybe I can get it in here, right? Think about that number line up there. As we head this direction on the number line, we are getting smaller. So that's what that symbol's saying. Look that way. It's itty bitty. It's smaller stuff. Same thing with our greater than sign. It's pointing that direction, right? So as we move this direction on our number line, our numbers are getting larger or bigger. That's your greater than symbol. That's going to help you remember which ones are which. Is it pointing to the left of 0 on the number line to smaller stuff? Or would it be pointing to the right of 0 on a number line towards things that are greater than? And then obviously if they're identical or match, you need to include your equal sign in between your two values. All right, so let's look at some examples. I want to compare the value of 4/5 and the percentage of 75%. So I have two options here. Get them both to their decimal version or get them both to their percentage version. All right, so maybe since this one's already in a percent, maybe we'll get that one to its percentage version. The way that we go from a fraction to a percent would be I have to divide to get to the decimal. And then once I divide to get to the decimal, I would hit times 100 to get the percentage. All right, so 4 divided by 5 would give us a decimal of 0.8. Right now, these don't match. I can't compare them yet until they're in matching formats. So I either have to change this to its decimal by dividing by 100 or change this to its percentage by multiplying by 100. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 100. Remember, the shortcut of multiply by 100 is we're really just moving that decimal 2 to the right. All right, so we have an 80% here. That'd be your shortcut of the multiply by 100. So we're comparing 80% to 75%. Obviously, if it were a test or quiz, I want to get an 80% more than I want to get a 75% because it is greater in value. So my symbol should be pointing that direction towards things that are bigger, right? It's greater than 75%. All right, number 2, 0.5 and 0.5%. Right now, it would be tempting to put that equal sign in there. They look like they match one another. But be careful. This one's in decimal format and this one's in percent format. And we can't compare until they're in the same format. So in this case, I have two options again. I can change this one to a percent by multiplying by 100, or I could change this one to a decimal by dividing by 100. Hopefully, right now in your head, you're saying, wait, if I change that by multiplying, it's no longer going to match. And if I change this by dividing it, it's not going to match. So I know equal to is going to be out. I just got to think about what would end up happening. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit this one times 100 again. Or remember, the shortcut is move the decimal 2 to the right which would give us 50%. All right, so we're really comparing 50% and 0.5%. 50% is a lot bigger. This isn't even 1%. All right, so again, our sign should be facing that way towards things bigger on our number line, which is greater than. All right, number 3, 42/50ths and 0.84. Again, it's much easier to try to make them both decimals as opposed to trying to make them both fractions, and more specifically, fractions with common denominators are the ones that allow us to compare their values. So I'm going to go ahead and change that guy. 42/50ths. I'm going to take 42 and divide by 50. Right? 42 divided by 50. When we do that, we do our 42 divided by 50, we end up here with 0.84. All right, they're both in decimals. They both match identically, so equal to would be our symbol in between. All right, number 4, we're comparing the square root of 45 to 6 7/10. Now, the previous learning days, we've spent quite a bit of time on these square root problems and simplifying them, where we get something like 2 square roots of 5 or something like that. For these compare problems, you actually want to get the approximate decimal version and then compare your 2 decimal values. So I'm actually going to use the square root button on my calculator for this one and get an approximate value. I only need enough decimal digits to be able to compare with the decimal over here. So 7/10, right? 7 divided by 10 is 0.7, or put a 7 in the tenths location, right? So we have 6. That's not changing, right? It's 6 point whatever we get here for 7/10. So it's 6 point, and then 7 divided by 10 would give us 0.7. So we're comparing a 6.7 with whatever we get over here when we do our square root. It's approximate value. All right, so second button, your x squared button, which gets you to this guy up here, which is your square root, and then 45, enter, will give you the approximate value of the square root of 45. So our approximate value is 6.708203932. All right, we have a big long decimal value going on here. So the question is, what do I really need to write out? So I have a 6, a point, a 7. Right now I'm going, well, they're equal to, but they're not because it didn't terminate there. So I have to keep going. Remember, these are the same. These are the same. I have to go to the next digit. So the next digit here is a 0. So if I get something other than a 0 here, then I can start to compare. If I get a 0 here, then I would have to go to the next digit, which would be another 0 here. What did I get over there, and so on. I have to go to the first place where the values are different to be able to compare them. So when we did our square root of 45, after our 7 was a 0. Well, it seems like they match still. I think they're equal still. Nah, I got to go to the next digit. So back here's another 0. After our 0 there from our square root was an 8. And now I go, whoa, they're different. I can't put an equal sign, and now I can compare. So same, different. And now I'm comparing this 8 to this 0. Whatever's true about these 2 digits is true about the numbers, right? So if this number is bigger, then this square root of 45 is bigger. If this digit is smaller here than this one, it's less than, and if they matched perfectly again, we would say they're equal, which they are. All right, so 8 is bigger than 0, so this square root of 45 is also greater than, and that should be our final conclusion. All right, number 5, 433.3% and 4 1/3. All right, we're definitely not in matching format, so I have 2 options. Get this guy to a percentage, or convert that to a decimal and convert this to a decimal. However you want to get there. So I'm going to leave that one alone to start. Let's start here. Remember, this is going to give us 4 point whatever we get for 1/3. Right? That's what's really there. So bring down your 4, your decimal, divide. 1 divided by 3 is 0.3 repeating. All right, so 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, right on. And I can add 3's here however long I need to be able to compare. All right, now 2 options I have from here is to change this to a percentage to compare, or change that to a decimal to compare. All right, to change this to a decimal, it would be a divide by 100, or shortcut 2 spots to the left. So 4.333, or I could have done times 100 here. Right now I would have gotten 433.333%, right? however you want to compare, but they have to be in matching formats. So I'm going to use these decimals. To me, that's the simpler way to go. All right, so 4 and 4 are the same. 3 and 3 are the same. 3 and 3 are the same. 3 and 3 are the same. So so far these match. So in my head, I'm thinking maybe they're equal to each other, but there's more over here, so I have to keep going, which means I need to add a 0 here as a placeholder, and I'm going to this place value, the fourth one after the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm comparing a 0 to a 3. They no longer match. Equal sign is out. All right, whatever's true about this 0 compared to this 3 is true about the values of these two numbers. So 0 is smaller than 3, so we should have a sign facing this way to the smaller stuff on our number line, which is a less than symbol. All right, number 6, we're comparing 25%, or divide by 100, 0.25 would be our decimal version, and our 25/95. 25/95. All right, we're going to divide here, and we are going to get 0.263155789 That's about right on forever. All right, so when we take 25 divided by 95, I need enough digits to be able to compare. So it started with a 0. This guy was a 0. We're matching so far. Then it went to a decimal, then a 2, so we still match. We got to go to the next guy over. The next one over is a 6. All right, well, these are different. I can now compare. 5 is smaller than 6, so this whole number is less than. So we should be facing that way towards things that are smaller again. All right, number 7, 18.5 and the square root of 343. All right, 18.5 is in decimal form. Leave it alone. Don't convert it. Let's get this guy to a decimal. Again, I can use the approximate value. I don't have to simplify to like 5 square roots of 3. All right, go ahead, use your calculator, get the approximate decimal value. All right, so square root of 343 would give us an 18 point. So far they're matching. All right, can't compare yet. 1 and 1, 8 and 8 are the same. So go here next. Our first digit after the decimal, the square root of 343, is also a 5. So right now it looks like maybe we're equal. Let's go to our next digit. This would be a 0. Let's see if we have a 0 here. When we do the square root of 343, our next digit is a 2. All right, these are different, so we can now compare them. 0 is smaller than 2, so the whole number is less than up there. All right, number 8, 0.3 and 3%. Most common mistake here would just say equal. All right, but remember, to go from a decimal to a percent, we hit times 100, or we move our decimal 2 spots. So this is 30%, and this guy over here is only 3%, which is a greater than. All right, goal number 2, we want to take a list of real numbers and put them in order from least to greatest, or possibly greatest to least. For today, we're doing smallest to biggest, least to greatest, but we could be asked for the other way around. So our first list here, 24%, 1/5, 0.4, 1/2, and 30%. We want to take those and put them in order from least to greatest. So again, we want to get them all in the same format so that we can make our list. But please remember, our final list should look like this. A 24 with a percent sign, a 1/5 as a fraction, a 0.4 in decimal format, a 1/2 as a fraction, and 30 with a percent. Even though we're going to sort of convert them so that we can do that task. Right? Our final list should look identical to the way it was listed to begin with. All right, 24% divide by 100. 0.24 would be this guy. All right, 1 divided by 5. That's the problem there. 1 divided by 5, which would give us a 0.2. All right, so I'm going to stack these up. 0.2, and I can add zeros there if I need as placeholders. All right, 0.4 is already good. 0, 0, 0.4. Again, I can put a 0 there as a placeholder. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, 1/2. Again, I can put that 0 there as a placeholder if I think I need it. 30%. I'm going to divide by 100, or the shortcut, 1, 2 spots over to the left. So 0.30. All right, now I want to organize things, smallest thing first. So these all match, so we can't compare. So we're going here. We have 2s, we have 4, 5, and a 3. These 2s are the smallest. So I have to go to this digit here and compare the 4 and the 0 to get started. I want to eliminate the 0.2s as my smallest numbers and then go to my 0.3s and 4s and 5s. All right, so 0.0 is our smallest, 0.20. So 0.20 was this guy, 1/5, right? These are in the order 1, 2. All right, so 1/5 would be our first one. All right, I'm going to eliminate. That guy's gone. All right, 0.24, which was our first number of 24%, is next. All right, that guy's gone. That guy's gone. All right, now we're comparing 4, 5, and 3. 3 is our next smallest, which went with our last number of 30%. That guy's out. That guy's out. All right, we're comparing 4 and 5. 4 is the smallest, which was our 0.4. And then finally we get to our 0.5, which was the 1/2. And we are in order from smallest to biggest. 1/5, 24%, 30%, 0.4, and 1/2. Remember, our final list here should be written the way that it was presented to us, even though we went off here to the side and made them decimals along the way. All right, number 2, 435%, 4 1/3, 4.33, 4 1/8, and 40%. All right, let's start here. 435% divide by 100, or my decimal moves 2 to the left would be your shortcut for converting a percent to a decimal. So we have 4.35. All right, 4 1/3. Remember, that's 4 point, whatever I get from taking 1 divided by 3. So 1 divided by 3 is 0.3 repeating. So I'm going to have a 3, 3, 3, 3, and I'm going to put dot, 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 just in case I have to add extra digits there. All right, 4.33 is already in decimal, 4.33. Remember, behind here would be zeros. These are zeros in case we need to compare. All right, 4 1/8, again, would be 4 point, whatever we get from 1 divided by 8. All right, so 1 divided by 8 is 0.125. So we have 4.125. Again, I can put zeros here all day long after that if I need them as placeholders. And then 40% divide by 100, or scoot that decimal to the left would be a shortcut, would give us 0.40, and I can add zeros there all day long as placeholders. All right, I hope that when we look at our numbers here, we know that 0 is smaller than 4, right? So we're going to eliminate that one first. So 40% is our smallest. It has a value less than 1. These are all 4 or bigger, right? They're larger than that. All right, 40% is out. This guy's out. All right, now we're comparing all of our 4s. So now we go to this tens location. In our tens, we have a bunch of 3s and we have a 1. So this 1 is smaller than these 3. So that one would come next. So 4.125 dealt with our 4 1/8. So it's next. Gone. Gone. All right, now we're comparing these 3s. So we have to go to our next column where we have a 5, 3, 3. All right, so 5 is the biggest. So this 435 is going to be our largest. And so let's deal here with these guys. So we're right here. So now we have to go to this guy and compare. 0 is smaller than 3. So 4.33 next. Then the 4 1/3, because that's a 4.333333 on forever, which is slightly larger. And then finally we get to our 435%. Dunzo. All right, you try this last one. 2 4/5, 86%, 0.07, square root of 40, and 3/8. Hit pause if you need. All right, hopefully you're unpaused and ready to go. This should give you a 2.8. This should give you a 0.86, a 0.07. For the square root of 40, again, don't do your simplifying. Just get an approximate value. In this case, 6.32 should be enough digits to compare. And then 3/8, do your divide, 0.375. All right, those versions are easier to compare. So 0.07 is clearly the smallest. This is a 0 point, this is a 0 point, this is a 0 point. So we go to the 8, 0, and 3 to compare. 0 is the smallest. So 0.07, eliminate. Our next one, 0.3, is smaller than 0.8, so 3/8. That guy's out. And then finally our 86%. Boom, boom. All right, now we're left with a 2 and a 6. So 2 4/5 would be next. And then finally our square root of 40. All All right, I hope that helps you guys attack your work for today. See you guys later.